Leviticus chapter 15. The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, "Speak to the people of Israel and tell them, when a man has a discharge from his body, the discharge makes him unclean. Whether his body allows the discharge to flow or stops it, it makes him unclean. This is how uncleanness from a discharge affects him. Every bed he lies on will be unclean, and everything he sits on will be unclean. Anyone who touches his bed must wash their clothes and bathe with water, and they will be unclean until evening. Anyone who sits where the man said must wash their clothes and bathe with water, and they will be unclean until evening. Anyone who touches the man must wash their clothes and bathe with water, and they will be unclean until evening. If the man spits on someone who is clean, they must wash their clothes and bathe with water, and they will be unclean until evening. Any saddle the man rides on will be unclean. Whoever touches anything that was under him will be unclean until evening. Whoever carries such things must wash their clothes and bathe with water, and they will be unclean until evening. If the man with the discharge touches someone without rinsing his hands with water, that person must wash their clothes and bathe with water, and they will be unclean until evening. Any clay pot the man touches must be broken, and any wooden article must be rinsed with water. When the man is cleansed from his discharge, he must count off 7 days for his cleansing. He must wash his clothes and bathe his body in fresh water, and he will be clean on the 8th day. He must take 2 doves or 2 young pigeons and come before the Lord to the entrance of the tent of meeting and give them to the priest. The priest offers one as a sin offering and the other as a burnt offering. So the priest makes atonement for him before the Lord for the discharge. When a man has an emission of semen, he must bathe his whole body with water, and he will be unclean until evening. Any clothing or leather that has semen on it must be washed with water, and it will be unclean until evening. When a man and woman have sexual relations, they must bathe with water, and they will be unclean until evening. When a woman has a regular flow of blood, the impurity of her monthly period will last 7 days. Anyone who touches her will be unclean until evening. Anything she lies on during her period will be unclean, and anything she sits on will be unclean. Anyone who touches her bed must wash their clothes and bathe with water, and then they will be unclean until evening. Anyone who touches anything she sat on must wash their clothes and bathe with water, and they will be unclean until evening. If a man has sexual relations with her and her monthly flow touches him, he will be unclean for 7 days, and any bed he lies on will be unclean. When a woman has a discharge of blood for many days outside a regular period, or if it continues beyond her period, she will be unclean for as long as the discharge continues, just as during her regular time. Any bed she lies on during the days of her discharge will be like a regular bed. Anything she sits on will be unclean. Anyone who touches them will be unclean, and must wash their clothes and bathe with water, and they will be unclean until evening. When she is cleansed from a discharge, she must count off 7 days, and after that she will be clean. On the 8th day, she must take 2 doves or 2 young pigeons and bring them to the priest at the entrance of the tent of meeting. The priest offers one as a sin offering and the other as a burnt offering. So the priest makes atonement for her before the Lord for the uncleanness of her discharge. In this way, you must keep the people of Israel separate from their uncleanness, so they do not die in their uncleanness by defiling my dwelling place which is among them. These are the instructions for a man with the discharge, for anyone made unclean by an emission of semen, for a woman during her monthly period, for anyone with the discharge, whether male or female, and for a man who has sexual relations with a woman who is unclean.